Welcome to Everything and Nothing.
Well, everything we know nothing about. How are you, Rob?
I'm great. In fact, I'm having a mimosa right now, actually.
Wow.
So
I was going to ask, how's the turkey weekend going?
So, it's still morning here. It's 11:15 in the morning. So we had a breakfast at around 10. Made pancakes, bacon, eggs, blah blah blah. But mimosas, bellinis, to start. It's also maybe a trial run for breakfast on Christmas morning, maybe. Just make sure we have our act together.
So you know what works and what doesn't work, and if something is kind of off, you can practice a few more weekends before you get there.
Exactly. Like, for instance, this orange juice may need a little bit more champagne. It's not quite.
It's always hard, right, to get that really down to perfection.
Yeah, exactly. So before
the different orange juices, like we have like everything from like the American style super sweet kind of pressed. I guess it's pressed in Florida and then frozen and then shipped.
Yeah.
And then we have things that is where the oranges are shipped to Sweden. It's like this one is ripe. This one goes for juice.
Yeah.
And that could be a little bit seasonal variations.
Yes. Where are the oranges coming from at this time of year that are going to Sweden?
I think we're now into Florida time. We're close to.
Do they come all the way from Florida, or do they come from North Africa or something? Or
so North Africa is usually springtime and fall.
Okay.
Because that's when the weather's right there.
Okay. All right.
I think I would say Christmas oranges are Florida style.
Okay. All right. I do love freshly squeezed orange juice when you have the good oranges. And you see those machines. I see them at hotels sometimes, and they're just all poured in there. They're like, Argh.
My father-in-law does that to our kids when we're in Turkey. Every morning, he's like, I'm going to squeeze it. He does not have a machine.
Oh.
He's got a hand and a presser.
Oh my God. That's legit.
That's how you win Grandfather of the Year award, right?
Yes, that means he really cares. That's like all the poor kids who are. That's all the poor.
Have a machine on the side, but he doesn't show that.
He doesn't show it to you. Oh my God! So I am trying. I know we were talking about this, trying to get my act together with this whole. We've been doing so many virtual things, videos, podcasts, all kinds of stuff all over this last year, and there's certainly different levels of crappiness when it comes to the gear that you're using. And I know a lot of us have just been using what's built into our laptops.
That doesn't work.
I know. And
there are tons of problems with that.
Yeah.
I mean, just from a speaker in the same unit as your microphone and the vibrations from clicking on the keyboard.
Yes.
It's so retarded. Like, I don't know that much about vibrations, but I took it like a 2 credit class in university.
Yeah.
And vibration spreads through a solid body.
Yes. Yes. As it does.
So what did you upgrade to?
So I got some, let's see here. These headphones are the Bear Dynamics. They're German. They're like, they're not trying to be like Bose noise canceling anything. They're wired. Yep. No electricity, no battery, no Bluetooth. They wire. You'll either plug it right into your laptop or plug it. A lot of times there's a port on your microphone they go to, because also, not that this means anything to anyone, but apparently these are 80 ohm headphones. So they're like studio reference headphones. Like, you couldn't plug these into your phone, for instance, yourself, and have it work.
Because the ones you plug into the phone needs to be powered through that outlet and have a little bit of amplification in the headset, right?
And so there's not enough power to drive these particular headphones on your iPhone or whatever. But you can, but there's enough power coming through. So on my laptop, so I've had this Yeti microphone. I've got another one coming. I ordered, it probably show up next week, by the same folks here, this Bear Dynamics guys in Germany, making a high-end kind of reference studio. So It's called the Fox. It's a black microphone. So, kind of sitting like this, has the screen, has a bunch of other gear. You plug these headphones into that. I also ordered, it's a Logitech 4K streaming video thing.
The 902.
It might be the 902. Yeah.
So are you getting lights as well?
I haven't done the lights yet. I probably will. This particular room is pretty bright in general. And it's because I put in some of those over bright, ridiculous LED lights that are the newer LED lights. You know how the old ones took a while to kind of warm up.
Yep.
These are brighter than I would normally like to have in a room, but apparently they're working out okay for doing stuff like this. But you're right. You were talking about.
There are those LED rings that you put around the camera that you can steer from your computer, like how much, like percentage wise you want it to lit. Because depending on, so you and I, we have very different colors in our room, right?
Yeah.
And probably your camera is a little bit warmer than mine is. Like you get a little bit darker colors. Your black is really black.
Right.
And with that bright, it's called a LED ring, I think.
Yeah.
So it's lots of different LED lights around you. You can actually shift the temperature of the lights.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can go from ice blue, kind of cold, which you would need when you speak to someone in Sweden, because it's always cold here. And if you speak to someone in Florida, you go tinted all the way to the red style, right? Latino
exactly. And so then I'm driving this whole thing. I have a 16-inch MacBook Pro, the new one that came out like at the end of last year, beginning of 2020. I got it in January. So giant screen. I'm using this mostly just for kind of media, whatever related things, and it's got 4 USB-C ports on it. So the new streaming Logitech thing that's coming in the mail, and it's not like the 4K one that's wider. It looks like a cube actually. And it was like actually built for streamers, like for people on Twitch and things like that. And it'll stream 60 frames per second. So we'll see how it is.
We'll see if you look smoother.
Yes, I need help getting there. I got this little thing here, a little hub. A lot of people find themselves having to get some kind of USB-C hub when they get when these new MacBooks, they took out all the ports, right? And so
that's how you got to do it. Eventually, you got to say bye-bye to serial.
Yeah.
And 3.5 millimeter, stereo plug.
Yeah.
You got to say bye. It's okay.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'm doing, so I was doing a prep the other morning for a video podcast thingy I'm doing with a group of people on Monday morning for, I don't know if it's the IoT, whatever, Industrial IoT World Congress thing or whatever. Anyway, we kind of did some kind of dry run, and I actually heard someone ask me if I had problems with my bandwidth or make sure no one else in the house is using Wi-Fi. And I'm like, at least that was their impression,
All right.
The other thing I'm doing, and I'll probably be struck down by the gods of lightning at Ericsson for saying this, but nothing beats a wired connection. And so we just froze.
All mobile broadband goes to a tower where there's fiber.
Yes. Yeah. And so, that's how I always explain it to people about how all those things work. I go, if you're at your office or at your house, the whole thing is wired with Ethernet. And then there's things called access points that plug into the Ethernet that's going at 1 gigabit or 100 gigabit. And then it pops out and lets you connect. And cell towers are the same thing. They're just kind of popping up out of the ground, but they're connected to insanely fast wires, glass.
So we have friends building a house not far from here. And he was like, should I get fiber to a house, or will 5G, like in a year and a half, will 5G be like readily available, fixed wireless access possible? Will it meet all my demands? I'm like, get fiber.
Get fiber.
Get fiber.
So on this hub, there's an Ethernet port. And then my Wi-Fi router that's connected to my cable modem, there's a bunch of Ethernet ports. And so I have turned off Wi-Fi on this laptop and I'm just using straight Ethernet to go out to the internet from the house, just in case all the kids are home from college and they're all playing video games all at the same time and eating all the bandwidth. And I may need to upgrade. So right now I have 250 megabit down, and I think I'm getting about 10 or 12 upload speeds on our cable modem. But I could upgrade to the 1 gig option.
So I have the Google Wi-Fi, and I'm actually very satisfied with it. It came out recently, just after the summer, with a fix where it enables you to check a box to power video calls.
Wow.
So it prioritizes that over Netflix.
Okay. That's
which
cool.
I think is a pretty smart thing to do, right? Given that everyone is on them. And if you have someone like my son loves to watch that Pokemon Go on Netflix, or the Pokemon series, Sun and Moon, season 12.
We love Sun and Moon.
Yes. And I never thought that it would be conflicting, but of course he wouldn't notice because the Apple TV would probably buffer a good 30 seconds. Yeah. So he can have a much lower priority without him noticing, right?
Yeah, right.
So speaking of Netflix, people are watching The Queen's Gambit.
Woo!
Have you seen it?
I've watched 3 episodes so far. I love it.
It's so good.
Who would have thought that people would be captivated by a show about chess?
First of all, the actress, I mean, the lead actress, she's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All those up fronts, close up, and she doesn't blink. It's so good.
Yeah, the show's amazing. I'm gonna just binge my way through it over the weekend, I think. Because I've been hearing everybody talking about it, everybody saying it's the best show on TV, and I think they're right. It's amazing.
Yeah, right now it's the one thing that we binged. Like it took a week and we were done. I think it's 7 episodes, right?
Okay, yeah,
about 50
I haven't played chess in a million years. It feels like.
No, but I used to play chess.
I would have to relearn how to play again, I think.
But I could see some of the things they talk about. I can remember doing when I was a kid and we were playing chess tournaments.
Yeah.
You were looking at boards collectively and say, what would you do?
Right.
You would discuss it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is probably great strategy for business and warfare.
Well, everything is that, right? If you come together, you look at a problem, you agree what the challenge is, and then you dissect it and say, what are our options? Yeah. And what are the counter moves? And what could happen? And you make scenarios, right?
Right.
So if this, then that.
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. And yet in her mind, with a little help from her pills, she's looking at 50 steps ahead of everybody else. My son was saying, hey, it's like that movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper where he's taking the pill or had the whatever, where his brain was super accelerated. But yes, she sees so much that no one else is seeing.
But I understood her brain as racing so fast that she needed a tranquilizer to calm down. Yeah. And kind of sort her brain out and like, all right, this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're right, because I remember initially going, oh, she's going to be all wigged out and, and it was the opposite.
Yeah, but it's like kids with ADD, right? You give them small doses of amphetamine. Yeah. And they get, they experience a different way of perceiving, like organizing their thoughts and their brain.
Yes. Or for all of you smoking pot right now, I have a story of my freshman year in college, my RA, resident assistant. I know they're called different things at different universities, but like on your floor of your dormitory, there's some person who's kind of in charge to make sure you're not too out of control. Well, this guy was so hyper, super smart guy, but he was just so hyper that he would have to just get baked to calm down enough to make straight A's and study. And it was crazy. Everybody else who's smoking pot is just totally, and this guy is just so accelerated. He had to get it back so that he could play chess probably.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Everyone needs their own medicine, right?
Yes.
Some people are long distance runners.
Yes.
Others, they play computer games.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Some people fold laundry.
Oh. Have you played any new video games lately?
So I'm so looking forward to League of Legends on the iPhone 12. That's my number one reason of getting it. It's
Yeah.
not that like I don't think I'll notice the difference in 5G in Sweden. We have like the Swedish LTE is stable and
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I hop off the Wi-Fi to get better download speeds.
Right.
When I'm playing games on my phone today, I'm averaging between 30 and 50 milliseconds in ping, which is a latency, which is, that's very good. I mean,
Yeah.
knowing people in Ericsson, they say that's what you can get.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Totally. Wow.
League of Legends, I played the original one, Dota Defender of the Ancients, but it was
Yeah.
just it was a patch, it was a hack to one of the original games. Loved it so much, and now that's what I'm looking forward to and saving myself up to.
Outstanding.
How about
So,
yourself?
so my son is into this whole sneaker thing. Are you familiar with people spending insane amounts of money to get shoes, sneakers, tennis shoes? That all these rappers or basketball players, and they're spending thousands of dollars sometimes. It just depends.
Yeah.
My son's been involved in that for the last several years, buying and selling these high-end sneakers, getting up early in the morning for a drop when the new Travis Scott or whatever version of, Air Force Ones or whatever, Yeezys from Adidas or something drop. And he's probably learning stuff that'll help him be like Gordon Gekko on Wall Street or something. But he's been buying and selling, but he's so plugged into this world, and there's all these apps they're using, and they're all these secret threads and groups to find out where things are. He was also able to use that to get himself the new Xbox Series X on day one and get me the PlayStation 5 on day one.
Well, so you got the two of them. Weren't they released the same day?
I think it was 1 or 2 days apart.
Yes.
And everybody is so angry, especially about the PlayStation 5. I kept reading all these people saying, I was online and I had it in my shopping cart. And then I hit the last button and it's like, sorry, out of stock. And the reality was, everybody's finding out, it's all the bots that were out there buying, automated buying on e-commerce sites. They were grabbing all the PlayStation 5s. These same folks use bots and proxies in different parts of the world. I've been learning about this to get these shoes. Like sometimes they will only allow so many shoes to be sold from a certain region or a city. And so, you know how some people will use a VPN or proxies? Like,
Yeah.
let's say that you're inside the Great Firewall of China, but you need to get out. And you might use a VPN tunnel that pops up in Stockholm. Or if something like that.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing the same thing. And so they may have a VPN and a proxy in Hong Kong, and they're buying it from there so that they won't be held back from getting it. It's crazy. But anyway, all the same technology, all these same apps, all the same everything helped them to get these gaming consoles like right away. And so I have a PlayStation 5 and I got the new Spider-Man game. That's, I guess, the only game so far. Maybe there's another one coming out pretty fast. And so just getting started.
But how long can it take to manufacture exactly one? It can't take many hours to get it produced.
I don't know, but apparently the head of the PlayStation division or whatever at Sony, just a few days ago, said we're completely sold out. And I'm sure they're having to crank up the gears at the factory in Japan to get those things coming out, because maybe they underestimated the demand. I don't know.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It is.
So what's the new? Is it just faster and better graphics? There's nothing.
Yeah, I think
motion sensors move into the controls yet.
Yes, I think that's the one thing that PlayStation 5 has an edge over the new Xbox is the controller is, I think, light years ahead of the Xbox controller. It's the feelings, the haptics, all the weird stuff, the variation and trigger of the feeling a different amount of thrust from your spaceship. It's amazing. In fact, they have there's a built-in game. I guess it's built into the device when you get it in the firmware or something. It's called Astro or something, but it's a short little easy game. But the whole point of it is to illustrate all the capabilities of the new controller. from PlayStation, and it's amazing.
So I started playing the kind of the Warcraft games when it was Warcraft.
Yeah.
And then Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, and from Warcraft 3 it became Dota, and we, all that. It's easy to understand how I got to where I am with my skill set. But if someone started today and they saw, I got 60 different characters I can choose from, they're all differently good. There seems to be like 8 different classes. And then there's 200 items I can buy. If I combine the different items, they become master items or whatever it's called. The barrier to enter is pretty high.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm thinking of the FIFA games and the was he Madden football?
Yeah, right.
Are they still calling it Madden football? NFL?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I haven't been paying attention lately, but I think they are.
When did he last? When was he lastly relevant in NFL?
It's been a while.
It's been a while, right?
It's been so. As an NFL coach, it's probably been since what, the 70s or I don't know, 80s. He was a coach for the Oakland Raiders, and then you're right, he was in the booth for years, calling the games and stuff like that. But you're right, people haven't seen him in forever. He was notable. Remember, he was notable because he, aside from just like saying obvious stuff, the team that's going to win is the one that scores the most points at the end. Genius, But he was also notable because he was afraid of flying. And so he had this big bus.
Oh, yeah.
And so he drove this big Madden bus all over the U.S. to go to the different games. And so he probably had to get an early start if he had to go across country.
Well, he got to be lucky that he chose to play football and not baseball.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be shit out of luck for those 2 weeks away tours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or hockey, where they play every other night in different cities.
Right. Oh, it's tough.
It's 2.5 games a week, right? In hockey.
That's tough. That's a lot. Yeah.
Yes, but Calgary, what's next? Tampa. Shit. Who are playing next? Kings. Oh, come on.
Oh, you're killing me.
They're not in our conference. No, we have an out-of-conference game.
Right. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that's tough stuff, man. That is tough stuff.
So what's the plan? Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So you do it with the family this year, I assume.
Yes. All the kids are home from college.
Brought all the germs home. Good.
They all came back. Kathy and I, it's probably a countdown to the end for us. Anyway, yes. Come back from Oklahoma State University in the giant metropolis of Stillwater, Oklahoma. And then also from Arizona State, in Tempe and Phoenix area.
Oklahoma State, that's a wrestling school, right?
It is. Yeah, you're right.
It's a great wrestling program, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Not a lot of people know that. Well done. A little trivia there.
I know a couple of NAAA wrestlers, right?
No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's a great school. I remember when I was taking my son, we were looking at different universities, and it just had a great vibe. A lot of people don't know much about that school. It's beautiful campus, in a small little tiny town in northern Oklahoma, and then ASU is massive in Phoenix. But I love how the football stadium is built into the side of the desert mountain there. It's gorgeous. I love that.
They also have a good track and field team, right?
I don't know.
I think they do.
That's a good question.
There were always a lot of ASU guys coming into San Diego, so outside San Diego, you have the Olympic Village.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where track and field people go when the Olympic Village is not gearing up for Olympic.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. What better place to practice track and field than San Diego?
Well, you get the same weather all year round, right?
Love it.
There's only 2 places, San Diego and Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do, 10,000 meters outside in Vegas.
That's tough. Oh my God. I remember a time I was in Vegas in the summertime, and that might be a bad idea. You don't see too many conferences happening right in the middle of summer in Vegas because the heat is so insane. but I remember a friend of mine who went to he actually, there's a great MBA program in the Phoenix area. Thunderbird school has a great business school, and I remember him talking about how hot it could be in Phoenix or Vegas in the summer. He was joking about like the asphalt on the ground liquefying because it's so, it's 115 or 120 degrees and it's insane. So I remember this time in Vegas, and I'm set to take off. I guess it was early afternoon. So I'm there at McCarran Airport, get on the plane, and I've never had this experience. We're racing down the runway to take off, and you go faster and faster, and then all of a sudden you feel them slamming on the brakes and reversing the thrusters on the engine to slow down. And everybody's freaking out. And then when we stopped, the pilot said, the air is so thin because it's so hot.
We can't take off.
We can't get enough lift. We would have crashed.
Ooh.
Woo! Yeah. And so that was kind of freaky, and so we go back to the airport, and to make things worse, it was like one of the hottest days ever in history in Vegas. It was probably 120 something, I don't know. And it was so hot, somehow transformers blew and the power went out for the entire airport. And so we go back to the airport, and then people are like basically in an oven burning alive. Long story short, we couldn't take off until about 9:00 that night, when they found enough wind and it cooled down enough that they could get enough lift to take off. That's crazy.
That's kind of like, okay, I'm glad you didn't try.
Yeah.
It's not okay. Just gut it out.
Yeah, gut it out. You got this.
It's a thunderstorm. How bad can it be,
How
right?
bad can it be?
It's just raining a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of side winds. I get it, but we're a big plane.
That's right. That's right.
My question was going to be, what are you eating? What is it, turkey today? Or?
Yes. So normally you would have big turkey and dressing and gravy and mashed potatoes and all that stuff, right? Normally we would be like the cliche, driving to grandma's house. But of course we're not doing that this year. And so none of that's happening. And so we're all here at the house, and we had a vote kind of, and I don't know if a lot of people know this. Turkey's not like the most flavorful thing in the world. And so
it's all about the accessories.
People go out of their way to find ways to make turkey taste good. It's not that it's bad, it just doesn't have a lot of flavor. And so you're right, people are doing fried turkeys. A friend of mine in Louisiana is talking about making Cajun fried turkeys, spicy, whatever. So people are bending over backwards. So anyway, one of the steakhouses up here in the Seattle area, Daniel's, I keep getting these emails from them because we like going there sometimes. And they're like, and them and Roost Chris, a lot of places over the years have said, hey, come have Thanksgiving dinner with us. Maybe if it's just a couple and they're alone or something, and we'll do the whole thing. But now, of course, everything's closed down here, and you can only just pick things up. And so they started sending out stuff like, hey, here's a whole 4-course Thanksgiving meal, and you can come pick it up and then heat it up in your deal. And so like, okay, maybe we'll do that, because I'm so lazy and horrible cook, and I probably screw up the turkey, or who knows. And so you're looking at the 4-course menu, it starts off, salad, whatever. And then you see the kind of the entrees, and, it's this turkey thing and that turkey thing or whatever. But then if you skip down a little bit, you see filet mignon and prime rib and everything. What a shocker. Everybody's like, I want a steak.
Honey, you're picking turkey, right? Going for steak.
Going for steak. So we're going to have 5 steaks.
A red little turkey.
Yes. And so I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to having steak instead of turkey, because, a lot more flavor for sure.
So in my family, we always had turkey on day after Christmas Day.
Okay.
So second day of Christmas.
Yeah.
And that was kind of when my aunt and her family came, and my grandpa came, and that was the big thing, right? And we've always had turkey. I didn't know it was an American Thanksgiving thing growing up.
Yeah.
In UK, they have it for Christmas dinner, right?
Okay. Yeah.
On Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So when we moved to San Diego the first time, we were like, oh, it's turkey time. I got to make turkey. Like, I grew up eating turkey all the time. And my wife's like, you eat turkey? Cool. Yeah,
we got this.
Yeah. So, and since we lived in different places, we are what we call cultural misfits. We take what we like from different cultures and we bring it to our house.
Excellent.
And we happen we love the Turkish kebab, so we have Turkish kebab now. We love the American turkey. The Thanksgiving thing is nothing that we have in Sweden. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving.
Why would you? Right.
Well, we should be thankful for a lot of things. Maybe not for the story that you have. I mean, the way you treated the original inhabitants of the continent might not, translate to thankfulness. But the idea of being thankful and having friends over for dinner is pretty good. So we try to do that. So we're actually, maybe not this year, but usually we have friends over and I make a mean big turkey. But I stuff it, stuffing in and I separate the skin from the meat.
Yeah.
Things in there like basil, sage, bacon.
Wow.
I've done.
Wow. So the takeaway is you should have come to our house to make our turkey today. It would have been
next year. We celebrate Thanksgiving, right?
We'll do that
with our 51st podcast.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. That's a good idea. I like that. You're right. The whole deal, different cultures, different types of foods for different things. So for instance, you're right. People on Christmas Day, also a lot of times you hear about people having turkey on Christmas Day. I hear that all the time. My wife makes lasagna on Christmas Day.
Oh.
And apparently it goes back to her parents when they were in college. Like her dad was at Yale and I guess her mom was at Smith Women's College nearby and whatever. Anyway, they got married, still in college, living in an apartment, and the landlords was an Italian family, had come over, and they would always make pans of lasagna and give them to them for them on Christmas. And so I guess they got the recipe, and then they just started making all these Italian dishes and stuff on Christmas, and it just kind of happened. And I guess my wife, when her and her sisters, when they were growing up, they learned how to make the same recipe, and we just keep doing it. I guess also, aside from just the recipe and it being really good lasagna, one of the keys apparently is you need to make it 2 or 3 days before, and then you might put it in the refrigerator and then you cook it again.
Oh, like double frying something.
Something like that. It's not necessarily because you're cooking it more, but the consistency of the lasagna changes when you have it be cool and then
that's
hot.
How restaurants do it. Like all the restaurants, they don't make lasagna a la minute, right? It's done well in advance and it's tucked away in the freezer. It's usually what the staff is eating.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's easy to make. You can make loads of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
That's cool.
That's good. It's different. It goes well with red wine.
Yes.
Which is important.
There's a lot of food that works well with red wine.
Yes.
Depending on what wine you pick.
Exactly. Because with turkey, you might be perplexed. You might be.
Yeah. So we've always done red for turkey. Spanish red, typically, like a Rioja.
Yeah.
But not the heaviest, not the fullest one.
Right.
But typically Tempranillo, a little bit of that vanilla goes well. So I make a bourbon, like the gravy I make with the gravy from the turkey, the fat from the turkey, cream and a little bouillon, right? And brandy or Calvados.
Okay, Calvados. I've had Calvados in the Normandy region in France. I actually went to one of those places where they're actually making it. A friend of mine took me there. That was pretty cool. Yeah, you're right. You got to be a lighter wine, maybe like a Pinot Noir or whatever, something.
Could work. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because a lot of people might just immediately think I've got to have some kind of white wine, a Santa Margarita, whatever, to go with their turkey.
So, like the mash we have is with bacon and cheese in it.
Oh.
So a good thick mash, like big on pepper. Like white wine and black pepper is not really. I'd not recommend it.
Yeah, not so much.
And I try to stay away from the. I'd rather have a glass of white wine if I ever have pork.
Right.
I could consider white wine.
Yeah.
For a light pork dish.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have red if I have a spicy fish. I'd go with a good Depending if it's like chili and peppers, kind of spicy.
Yeah.
Or salmon, I can go with a light red.
That's good. Did I tell you I have a problem with red wine? Like a drinking problem?
Disappear?
Yes. But I have to admit, this whole COVID thing has impacted people in all kinds of different ways. I've noticed my wife and I are drinking more wine than we've ever had in our whole life. I've totally gained some COVID weight. And I was like, am I eating more stuff? Am I drinking wine every night? I don't know. Something like that. If you go into our house, we've been buying so much wine. We spend so much time in the summer wine tasting and going to places in Eastern Washington and bringing back cases of it. And so, we've got the big kind of the wine cave fridge, whatever, that can hold like 100 bottles. And we have just a wooden one in the garage. Well, the reality is they're all full, and there's like all these boxes on the floor in a living room of wine, and our place looks like hell coming over there, and people have to step around wine bottles and boxes. And so it's kind of funny, but it's probably a sad story too.
So I tried to recycle all the glass bottles that comes out of wine, and like last time I was standing there and chugging them into they call it glass igloos. I chugged it, and there was an old man who was doing his plastic recycling next to me. He's like, "Oh, I had a big party." I'm like, "No, just a week of consumption." What am I gonna say?
Yeah,
maybe.
And so, like, see this pullover hoodie I've got on.
Walla Walla.
Says Walla Walla. Almost no one on the planet's ever heard of this place. Most people, the only way you'd know it typically is if you lived in the state of Washington, maybe. But it's becoming probably one of the hottest viticultural areas in the United States for wine.
How is that?
People are always surprised to find out that Washington State is the #2 wine region in America, behind California.
What else state is there?
Oregon does some Pinots south of Portland, Oregon, on the west, and that's a critical thing too. If you think about the terrain, if you think Northern California all the way up into British Columbia and Canada, you've got this mountain range. It starts actually north of Napa and Sonoma, though. Like if you think of Mount Shasta and going up from there, and then it's the Cascade Mountains going through Oregon and then through Washington, then up into British Columbia. But if you're on the west side of it, between the mountains and the ocean, it's cooler, it's rainier, damp, which is not as good for wine growing. But obviously, when you get down to Napa and everything, it's fine. And then the east side is a completely different environment. It's dry, it's arid, almost desert-like. But there's so much water in the state of Washington, specifically. We have so many rivers and natural lakes and everything. It's amazing. And so it's all agriculture on the eastern side of the mountains, even though it's drier and more arid. But it gets hotter. Even as far north as we are, we'll get hot summers. And so aside from growing wheat and apples and things like that, and vegetables, it's great for grapes.
Well, you're probably like southern Germany then, in a way.
Yeah, if you go across, I think I've seen the latitude going across the wine region, which is kind of that southern 1/3 of Washington state. If I go across, it's probably kind of the Rhone area in France, about that, like that. And so, whereas Napa is, further south. It cracks me up. People are making wine in Texas and they go, "Oh, I'm sure that aligns somewhere with Italy or something." I'm like, no, it probably lines up with North Africa.
Like Sudan.
Yeah, Sudan, exactly. It's like,
you know what they have in common? They have oil.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not grape seed oil.
No, not so much. Not so much. But yeah, the wine's been great. We love spending time out there in the summer. It's wonderful. It's nice.
So we tried the latest fad in Swedish wine culture is naturally infused sparkling wine, het nat. I think I sent you a link about it.
Yeah.
They're each. So it comes with a beer cap on it.
Okay.
Not a normal champagne kind of
cork
in it. It's pretty light. It feels almost like someone took a white wine and ran it through a soda streamer.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's very fizzy in the taste, but the like if you compare it to a cava or a prosecco or a champagne, it's not that. Those are very complete in the palettes of tastes.
Yeah.
While if you run something through a soda streamer, it's like, oh, someone added something to it. Like this is obviously like something mixed with something else.
Right.
It's like wine and soda water. Like
absolutely. I've had that in I used to spend a lot of time in France. I used to do a lot of work in France actually, and so I have all these friends in Paris and in Nantes, and spent time in the Loire Valley. God, what is it they make there? Anyway, it's a white wine. It escapes me, but I remember them making kind of the fizzy version of their white wine.
Are they making Sancerre?
Yeah. Yeah.
In the Loire Valley, there's usually some good Sancerres.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that, and there's something else. Anyway,
I'm
sorry. Okay. Okay. Yeah, but it was kind of carbonated, fizzy, whatever, like champagne. It was great. It was really good. It was good stuff for sure. They don't get as much love in Loire as people in Bordeaux and Rhone and all that,
It's all about, I read the Chateau whatever, which is that investigates the European wine culture and international as well. But in EU, we're very keen on regulating what is called organic. Like,
yes.
What do you mean? An organic tomato in Spain should have the same criteria as in Sweden.
Yeah.
Because we have the freedom of goods. And if you call it potato, it should be a potato.
Yes.
You
or
can't
even a potato.
French fries.
Yeah.
If a cucumber is this long, it's a cucumber. If it's this long, it's probably something else. Because
could be a radioactive cucumber.
Could be out of Chernobyl, yeah.
Probably. That's what happens when you're near radiation. All of a sudden, giant ants, Godzilla, big fruit.
Exactly.
It always happens that way.
But the only industry that they haven't been able to regulate is the wine industry.
Ah, okay.
Even though we all know there are additives to wine. It's sulfates, there's taste added, there's clarification, because like if I make wine the best way I can do it, it doesn't become as clear as some of the bag and box wines that are available.
You're right. You're right.
That's not how they make them.
It's really interesting. The French are pretty hardcore about how they do things. And it always surprised.
But then they sell the wine. So this is the fun part. The French who make their own wine and sell them by the bottle, yeah, they're strict on what should be done and what shouldn't be done, right? But then they have no problem of selling their surplus of grapes. So we have wines in Sweden that are French, but they're made on Swedish territory because they bought the bulk grape or bulk grape juice because they're like, we're a very elitistic. This is the amount of bottles that we are want to put out, just like your Jesus sneakers, right? I want to flood the market. I don't want to make billions for the fun of it. Right. I want to make billions over and over for each release I make.
Yes.
So fewer bottles with higher sticker price. And then what do we do with the other 80% of the grape juice we got, Grandpa? Oh, we sell it to the Swedes. They're crazy about their cheap wine. So they make wine in big, stainless canteens in southern parts of Sweden. And they add, they buy wooden chips and put in there to add
flavor.
It doesn't have to say on the label. Like, doesn't have to say this was made on Swedish soil. No.
See, that's interesting. And I've heard about that. I saw that in Texas. I had heard, so my family has a ranch out in the hill country of Texas, about 150 miles outside of Austin. And I grew up spending a lot of time out there. And but lately, this really cute town out there that was no big deal when I was growing up, but now it's like going to Santa Fe or Napa or something. It's called Fredericksburg. And they've built all these wineries, and people have spent tons of money recreating either something that looks like a French chateau or an Italian villa. And they have music and food and everything, and there's wine. And I remember going there, I'm like, Texas wine, really? I'm a Texan, but come on, it's Yes, the grapes love the heat, but it's to cool off sometime, and it doesn't cool off in Texas. It's always hot. And so that just doesn't seem like it would work. And so I remember going to the different tasting rooms, and I would ask so many questions of these poor people who are pouring the wines to find out, tell me about where this came from. Like I would always do with anybody. And I found out kind of like what you heard. There's a loophole. You can call it Texas wine as long as it's bottled in Texas. But then I find out and I say, what part of Texas is this from? And they go, oh, Paso Robles, Sonoma. And I'm like, oh, you're killing me. This is California wine. And they shipped it down in a bladder, in a truck, in a whatever, the juice. Yeah. And then they put it in a bottle and say Texas on the label, but it's not Texas wine. There are some Texas wines, right? Huh?
Buy local, right?
Yeah, buy
support
local.
Your local economy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also familiar with the bulk wine market that you're talking about because I have thought about. I've always wanted to be in the wine business, maybe do that. Of course, I have lots of friends from Microsoft who did that, and it was a great way to just lose millions of dollars. And they didn't realize that it's hard work. You're like a farmer. It's really hard work. It's not like writing code. If you buy a
wine yard, yeah, you're a farmer.
Yeah.
But if you buy bulk wine, you're a chemist.
Exactly. I want to be a chemist. And so there is a bulk wine market. You can get mailing lists or you can see stuff on Twitter or whatever. And because the reality is there's been a gold rush of people doing vineyards in California and Washington and other places. And they all, because I don't know if they think they're going to make money, but in their mind, there's this romantic feeling like, oh, I'm going to be living this life and walking amongst the vines.
But I don't think any one of them made a proper business case of like, what does it look like to maintain that chateau in perfect mint condition 24/7? Like, at one point,
it's hard.
You need revenue in.
Yeah.
Not just wine out.
And I think a lot of them found out that they were just pouring money down a hole.
Literally.
Yeah. And so, at some point in the past, I forgot how long ago, it was probably decades ago, there was kind of a break. It might be this way everywhere, but at least for Washington, where, it used to be there's vineyards and there's the winery and the winemaker, and they're all the same. And then at some point in the past, that could split in half. And now there's just lots of vineyards and they're not in the wine business at all. And they sell their grapes to winemakers and wineries and stuff like that. And so different people I know who are in the business, they'll go in and they'll say, yes, I don't know if they get a lease or however they do it, but they say for this season, I want these 3 rows of your vineyard. I think this is the good terroir.
Looks good and they seem to be fresh.
Yes. And so you see that separation, but the long story short, much more wine is being produced than is being consumed. And so there's this cheap bulk wine market where crazy people like you or I could buy the juice and like drive a pickup truck out there and test it. And if we like it, or we can get a few and blend it, and then we put in our bottle and put our own label on it. And we're in the wine business.
Well, everything and nothing, right?
Yes. How did we get there?
That's what celebrities are doing now in Sweden. They're putting their name on, if they're a chef or they're a, half-baked musical artist, and there's no musical industry right now. Yeah. People are drinking wine. What do? You offer $8 wine your name.
Yeah.
You get $1 a bottle, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. That's a good point.
So they talk about this in this book as well. The problems with it, that people think it's worth more because a celebrity put their name on it. But if you look at it, the bulk wine was actually, dimers, a dime a bottle.
Yeah, it's a total
and you're
crap.
Now claiming it should be $4.99 at Walmart.
Yes, it's true.
Doesn't make any sense, right?
It's true. And so that phenomenon you're talking about, it's the same thing. Someone will see some celebrity on Instagram wearing particular brand of sneakers, and then instantly everyone's trying to get those sneakers, and the price goes up. And it's the same thing. A celebrity puts their name on wine. People saw George Clooney doing the Casamigos tequila, and he sold it for $1 billion.
Yeah, but so I want to see how many other people sold their tequila business to Americans who thought they were going to go into the tequila business, and made a lot of rich Mexicans.
Yes. And that's the thing. It's like champagne. Tequila has to come from the Tequila Jalisco region in Mexico. You can't call it tequila if it doesn't come from there.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're a smart ass Mexican farmer, and you have a farm there, you can claim that you make tequila.
Yeah.
Like, hola, I have something for you, señor. Do you have mucho dinero for me? Yeah. Years later, you buy it back at half price.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds, Mr. Deadpool saw what Clooney did, and he got aviation gin, and I think he just sold that recently. I don't think he made $1 billion.
Ryan Reynolds, didn't he buy a soccer club in?
I think so.
In the UK, not in the Premier League, but like Division 4, like not college league, but these are people who they're firefighters on the side. Or policemen, or I can't work out Thursdays. I have a night shift.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Passion people.
Yes. So it's funny because I like the idea of trying to dip my toe in the wine business somehow. Mm-hmm. But I did think about the tequila thing because I thought about, we have this ranch I talked about in Texas, and I never think, well, it's probably too hot for wine, but it could probably grow agave, cactus, because it's hot. It's
American tequila.
We'd have to call it something else, but it's possible to do it. Maybe we take some of those black stealth helicopters at night and we swoop in over Jalisco down in Mexico, and we guys slide down the rope and they get the...
No. You could probably get away with, you buy 50-50. You call it 50-50 tequila.
Yeah. You
buy half of it in bulk, and the other half you grow in Texas.
Yeah.
And the brand is 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, hey, people, we've got Texaquila for you or something. Yeah. But I watched a YouTube video that showed how they harvest the agave plants. There is nothing romantic or anything about that like there is with grapes. It looks like really hard work. Like, it's this giant bulb at the bottom of this cactus, and it weighs so much. And they've got these pitchforks and pickaxes chopping it apart. It looks like really, really hard work.
You're sending me down a rabbit hole after this one. I got to watch that.
You got to watch it. And so it takes a year, just like grapes, you're growing for years before you can do anything with it. And then it's hard work to get it out and chop it up. And then they put it in ovens and cook it and do all this other stuff to get the agave juice and whatever. And it looks, and so as soon as I saw how hard the labor looked, I was like, I'm out.
But maybe, and then you were like, but maybe there's a bulk market for off-label tequila.
Exactly. So, because what a lot of people don't realize is what really got tequila going in a big way, what people think of as the ultra premium tequila market, was started with Patron. Before that, people were just drinking Jose Cuervo and throwing up at college parties and stuff like that. And they somehow thought that Cuervo Gold was somehow going to be better. And then, of all people, listen closely, kids, this is an important story. Of all people, Paul Mitchell, who makes hair care products that you may not even remember from a long time ago.
No,
The Paul Mitchell salon hair care stuff, a couple of decades or more ago, he invested and took ownership of this Patron place in Mexico. Maybe they needed some help, and he had made so much money in hair care stuff. And so he did it, and they started making this really high-end 100% agave tequila, and he marketing is so key. Marketing might be the most important thing, actually.
You might need a George Clooney for this.
Yes. And all of a sudden, Patron launches the entire tequila market into something that you could actually sip. And it's really high-end, like a high-end whiskey or something, or scotch. And then, and then all of a sudden on the market, everybody's saying 100% agave tequila, things like that.
Can you do tequila that's not 100% agave?
Oh yeah, you can make some crappy stuff that's a mixture.
Okay, I'm just checking. It's like there's nothing like an analog watch until you invent a digital one. Only then becomes this is analog.
Yeah.
It's worth more.
It's worth more.
It only becomes a unique selling point if it's unique, right?
This Rolex is worth more than your Casio.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's crazy. But there's always lessons to learn, especially in commodity markets where everybody's got a lot of what you got. Marketing and positioning makes all the difference, doesn't it? You know,
if you can't separate the tool or the product, whatever you have, with unique, distinct features that everyone can understand, it's like wine, right? Not everyone can understand the difference between a $25 bottle and a $30 bottle.
Right.
It's down to taste, right?
Right.
It's like with tools. Some like Makita, some like, Bosch tools.
Yeah.
Different. If you look at a carpenter's toolbox, he's got, I use the Makita power drill, but I have the Bosch saw.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. Because they're differently balanced, but they do different tasks.
Right.
So I think it's, you got to figure out who your market is and how you persuade them to understand that they like this more.
You could say that the rise of podcasting is taking something that no one thought was interesting, like the market for microphones or headphones or webcams. And all of a sudden it's like people are talking about it and trying to differentiate.
I mean, imagine if I said, like, now we're doing video podcasts, but most podcasts I listen to is, it's an audio. This is actually an audio podcast in a video format.
Yeah.
But if someone said, hey, Henrik, I have this radio show you should listen to, I'm like, that's not for me. If radio would have rebranded, say, well, we're going to launch a new podcast episode between 2 and 3. Listen in to Radio 1.
Yes.
People would listen because people listen live to Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When he releases his episodes.
Especially when they have Alex Jones on.
Yes, or maybe not.
I'm going to kill my neighbors and feed them to my kids.
I mean, radio could have rebranded themselves as the podcast release platform.
Yes, it's true.
Because they do live podcasting. They could do great shit.
Yeah,
Every day they broadcast live, and in Sweden at least, all the public radio is available in replay on their platform.
Yeah.
They don't call it podcast. They release some of it on podcast platforms.
Right.
But they were first.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And don't worry, pretty soon you'll be able to hear our podcast on all your favorite podcasting platforms.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's going to happen any day now.
We're just waiting for that mail. Do we have any followers yet on our YouTube channel?
Maybe one. I don't know. I haven't checked in a while. Of course, we haven't checked. We haven't done any marketing yet, which is probably good.
Figure out how we market.
Because we're still trying to figure it out. We don't have any cool intro music or any cool graphics or we don't have any of that stuff.
No, it's all about content.
We're
not about marketing. We give good content and people will find it.
Henrik gives good content, folks. They will find it.
Worshippers will find something to believe in.
Yes. But we'll probably have our own branded podcast wine shortly, since there's extra wine on the market and we could probably buy it cheaper than bottled water, maybe even.
And I mean, we know some people that actually makes wine disappear.
Yes, we do. We do. It's an important task.
It's a superpower, right?
Absolutely. It's their superpower. Oh my gosh. Well, should we call it a day?
I think we're done for today.
Of course, I don't even know. It could be calling it a night where you are, right?
Yeah, it's calling it night. It's 9:30 now.
Wow.
9:15.
That's crazy talk. It's 12:15 here.
This was everything and nothing.
It is.
Number 2.
Absolutely.
Turkey edition.
Yes. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I know you've been enlightened with all the bullshit that we've been saying.
Questions, drop a comment downstairs and we'll follow up in the next episode. Don't worry.
Absolutely. Make sure and like us and subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe.
And the bell. Yes, the bell. Get the bell. And
then next week you might be able to follow us live on Twitch.
There you go. It could happen. I can see that.
Don't know.
You'll be able to hear us so soon. That's going to happen for sure.
That's going to happen.
All right. We're out.
We're out.